morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Fernando, community guy, and I'm here filling in for Megan for Outschool Live. And today we are talking about outsourcing. Here at Outschool, we have over 140,000 classes, live classes, and experiences for learners with expert educators in any subject. And we have a vibrant parent and learning community. And we are speaking to one of those lovely and vibrant parents here. Gwen, introduce yourself and tell us what brings you to Outschool Live today.
I'm Gwen, and my learners are 11 and 13. And honestly, Megan asked me to talk about outsourcing because I do it quite a bit.
All right, I'm going to act like I'm a pro in outsourcing. Actually, it's convenient because I'm going to ask what is outsourcing and how do you define it?
I guess I'd say anytime you're pulling in another educator for a class or a subject or for school, whatever you need to not be the only one doing it.
So I guess, yeah, just pulling in help, extra help.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. All right. Well, that makes sense. Well, would you like to tell us maybe about your outsourcing journey?
Sure. I think Megan asked me to teach it because I hear a lot. How are you going to teach all those classes in junior high? What about high school? How are you going to teach all those? And my motto is, I don't have to teach every class. I just get to decide who's going to teach it. So, so I really started outsourcing during the pandemic when there was so many free or online resources, and it was just so many opportunities out there that I really started that. And my daughter did a literature class, and that went great. And then that spring, I hired a math tutor, and not because she was doing poorly in math, but because we were butting heads. And it really helped our relationship to outsource math somewhat to a math tutor. She had another authority, wasn't just always mom telling her how it goes. So that was kind of where I started.
So there are two things that that makes me think of is that one, I think there's the idea that parents who homeschool are teaching every single subject. Do you feel like that is sometimes a misconception of homeschooling?
Definitely. And there's no need to feel like I have to know everything about every subject.
100%. And all right, so for folks who are tuning in, we are talking about outsourcing. Pretty much outsourcing to experts who might be able to help in a particular subject. Here with Gwen, a parent who has also been outsourcing. So we've just talked about that misconception that homeschool parents are teaching every subject. You also talked about your butting heads, and that's come up in the parent community as well, where we come up, even if we are really good in this subject area, sometimes we find that we're butting heads with our learners. How did you recognize that, and how did you find who to outsource that to?
Well, I think every parent knows when you're butting heads with your kid, they're just not listening. You're like, I know the answer, but they don't believe that you know the answer. And yeah, so I went online in my local homeschool community and said, I need a math tutor for my daughter. And I got some names, and then I cold messaged random people whose names I got and found a tutor, and it's been really great.
Do you know, was there a moment that you're like, okay, now I know I need to find someone else?
Probably when there's tears on both sides, maybe.
Yeah, thank you for being real with that, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, there was yeah, that's a good indicator, right? Just straight up tears, and they happen.
Mm-hmm.
They happen. I think we've all been there. Do Well, I'm fair to say you're speaking to us because it's been a success for you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I've outsourced for a lot of reasons. There's some classes that it just made sense for my kid to have more social interaction with maybe other kids, like a literature discussion is more lively with just me and her. And like for foreign language, having an expert in the field able to speak to her. So I've really enjoyed these areas that I could have done, but the extra help is really helping a lot.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say that um, you're not specifically outsourcing maybe for specific academic, academic achievement, but you're also outsourcing for maybe some more social elements or maybe some just different experiences that might maybe help the learner.
Right. I've done academic classes, geography, Spanish, math, literature, but then, like on Outschool, it's not always just the solid academics. It might be investing in the stock market or um, how to make miniature clay figurines, like just things that are like really creative and out there that I just don't know a lot about or don't have an interest in teaching.
Oh, absolutely. For folks who might just be tuning in. This is Outschool Live. We're talking about outsourcing. You know, when to reach out for help for your learners and their learning and their learning needs. We have here at Outschool, we have over 100,000 classes where learners can meet and interact with experts in all sorts of topics, anything from Minecraft to stock market, from writing to music lessons. Um, and we are here with Gwen, one of the parents from our community. And Gwen, as a follow-up question, you also had some specific um, learning needs in your family.
I do. I have one student who's way ahead, and then I have one student who has dyslexia, and I need different outsourcing situations for those different learners.
What kind of classes have worked for them, or what kind of outsourcing methods have worked for them?
Well, for my student with dyslexia, I went and got some further education to teach her specifically myself. So I'm not outsourcing her education a lot at this time, just because I feel like I'm the subject matter expert at this time for her. But my other student, she really likes to deep dive into some things, and I, I don't know how a combustion engine works. And she's asking me these questions. And I can, outsource it. I don't know how that works exactly, but I can find someone who does. But I do know that Outschool does have some tutors and resources specific for dyslexic learners. Anything that says Orton Gillingham is a great choice. That's what my training was in. And that's a specific, like, explicit learning method that really works great for dyslexic learners.
Yeah, and I'd like to call out that if there are any viewers watching and you have questions about classes that are specific to your learners' needs, whether it is neurodiverse or social needs or an academic need, I encourage you to type in the comments of classes that you're looking for, and we'll have our teammates, either Megan or Sarah, who can answer those questions for you and help you find a specific class for your learner. Also, remind you that you do have a promo code GoLive10 for $10 off your first class. And of course, feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and we can say hello and get to those for you. A question that that came up as Megan and I were discussing outsourcing. How do you see? Well, let's see. That's leading. Do you see any differences in the way that your learners react or respond to you versus to educators?
I think it really depends a lot on the educator. But sometimes I think they see them more as an authority on the subject than mom. Um, and then, maybe they feel a little bit more accountable, like to turn their work in or to really put some effort into it because they feel like this teacher is really, more of an authority than I am. But a nice side benefit was when the teacher says something that I've already said, then it's like, oh, like now that has some weight, like it's backed up. So that's kind of nice when someone else backs up something like what I just said, and then the tutor or the teacher says the same thing. That's nice.
Oh, absolutely. I think that like not only that vindication as a parent, like, yes, but then you know, like even like marketing, right? You need like 3 impressions before something gets into someone's head. I think sometimes that's the same with learners too, where, oh, I heard this from somebody else. Oh, now I heard it again, and now it's sinking in. And I like that idea of, Outschool educators essentially becoming part of that village for our learners. And it's okay. Now I'm hearing it again from somewhere else in the village. Megan, looks like Megan's tuning in, and Miss Anna and Cool Gamer, they're popping in some messages. And Megan did bring up a good point that you actually specifically went. There's something to share with viewers, is that you specifically went to school to help your learner. And you mentioned can you tell me the program that you studied again?
Well, Orton Gillingham is kind of the method that I studied for dyslexic learners. Honestly, it works great for all learners, especially learning to read. It's just really great for dyslexic learners.
I'm not familiar with that method. Is there, is there a way to break down that method?
Whew.
Right. Yeah. Real quick, throwing you on the spot. You have 10 seconds.
It only took 5 months to learn. So, I mean, the keys are that it's explicit. For dyslexic learning, you spell it out. Like some kids just pick up reading and you didn't really tell them anything. They just kind of picked it up. That's not really how it works for them necessarily. You need to spell it out. It needs to be really systematic. Concepts need to build on each other. So you teach the base level and then you build on that. So it's just a really systematic way of teaching phonics rules, spelling rules, reading rules that really works with dyslexic learners.
Did you outsource for those kinds of classes specifically on Outschool?
I haven't used any of the dyslexic specific or Orton Gillingham specific classes, but I've heard from other parents in the group that they have found some great teachers. I can't recommend any in general, but that they have seen Orton Gillingham mentioned in some of the descriptions. And I think Megan did a live with a lady named Judy a few weeks ago, and I know that she had some good resources as well.
Do you have like recommended questions that you might ask an educator who is using that method? I guess, is there and maybe your answer might be no. Maybe if they listed it, that's enough. But
I'd kind of like to know, like, so you put OG on there, Orton Gillingham, right? OG. Like, maybe where were you trained? How long have you been using the method? How many hours of instruction did you get? I know here locally, parents can get 10 hours of training. I did 5 months, of graduate work. So 10 hours isn't that much. It's kind of an intro, but I might dig a little deeper. Like, do you yourself teach any dyslexic students currently? Things like that.
okay, so maybe asking, the sort of the amount of the location and the amount of time they spent studying, and then the amount of experience that they might have, not only with the subject matter, but with actually learners who are dyslexic.
Right.
Okay, that's pretty handy. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Um, let's see. Now I'm running through in my head trying to find out what are the questions I have listed. Are there anything that I haven't mentioned that you're like, oh wait, Fernando, we talked about this. We should talk about this.
Um, well, there's just so many reasons why you might consider bringing in another educator. Um, some people feel like they're just not qualified to teach calculus or whatever that subject is that is just, mind-boggling to them. That's a good reason to outsource, obviously, but there might be things that you just don't want to teach either. Like, I don't want to have a chemistry lab in my kitchen. I plan to outsource that. And then there's just so many reasons you might, if you had health issues, let's say, and you just can't keep up with the teaching load, or you have a whole lot of learners on different levels with different subjects, you might want to outsource a few.
No, 100% agree. And I think even when we were, as we met just right before this call, I'd ask you a question. I'm gonna sort of put you on the spot and see if you remember the answer. But I asked, what's the point for you of talking to parents about outsourcing?
Just so that you don't feel like you have to do it alone. You don't have to know everything. We have this giant responsibility educating our kids, but you don't have to do it alone.
100%. Well, you've heard it here, folks. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about outsourcing. Here at Outschool, we have hundreds of thousands of classes and online experiences for learners, hosted by experts in almost all fields who are passionate about their subject matter. And as you heard Gwen say, you can always ask for help. And so Gwen, all right, so this will be my test to see how well I was listening. All right, we have Gwen here who has outsourced in classes for her learners. She has two learners, one who's extremely advanced, another learner had dyslexia or has dyslexia, and also went specifically to school to support her learners. Thank you, Gwen, for working so much for your learners, as we see many parents do on Outschool. And you have, can I say, confidently outsourced when you needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is helping you and your family on your learning journey.
Good summary.
Yes. And I forgot, do you homeschool exclusively, or do you combine, or any brick and mortar, or?
Well, so far homeschool exclusively. However, one kid is going to go to kind of like a co-op, but you don't have to really do any teaching yourself. You pay the teachers. She's going to do Spanish there because she's gotten to the level of Spanish that I can no longer grade her work. So she needs to go learn Spanish from a Spanish speaking teacher who can work at her level. So we'll be trying that for the first time this year.
Oh, awesome. Well, I definitely wish you a lot of luck in that regard. And want to thank you for showing up here. And thank you all the viewers for watching and liking and sharing and commenting. If you have any follow-up questions about outsourcing or specific classes or educators that you might want to outsource to, we want to encourage you to leave a comment. Whether you're watching live or you're watching a recording, leave a comment, ask a question, and our team will get to you. Don't forget, you can also use the promo code GOLIVE10 for $10 off your first class. And Gwen, I want to thank you very much for being here with us. Is there anything we missed that you'd like to share with families, or any words of wisdom?
Oh, you just don't have to be alone. You don't have to teach every class. There's someone else who might know how to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gwen. I want to encourage families, parents, and caregivers to go ahead and drop a comment, even if it's just to encourage other parents or to encourage yourself on your own learning journey. feel free and leave a positive comment. Also, I want you to try to get to know other parents, just like Gwen in our parent community, by joining the parent community. And you can ask even on this post, hey, how can I find out more about all these awesome parents on Outschool? And that's where you'll find us. But thank you so much. And we look forward to hopefully connecting with you all again on the next Outschool Live. Thank you so much, Gwen.
Bye.
All right. Cheers, everyone.